Turn this boat around right now. Vanessa Sterling's scream cut across Coral Bay like a siren. On my phone screen, I watched her yank the throttle, nothing, twist the wheel, locked solid. The dashboard flashed red, unauthorized access. Autopilot engaged. My custom boat, Phantom, glided smoothly into its pre-programmed route, a perfect figure eight across the bay. And she was trapped in the captain's seat, realizing too late that stealing from a former Navy SEAL was the dumbest decision of her HOA presidency. Cameron Mitchell! She shrieked into the wind, crimson blazer whipping behind her like a war flag. "This is illegal! I'll have you arrested!" I took a sip of coffee from my dock 200 yards away and smiled. She'd just handed me everything I needed: video evidence of trespassing, attempted theft, and breaking and entering all time-stamped, GPS tracked, and uploaded to the cloud. Welcome to Florida, Vanessa, where the water's warm, the laws are clear, and karma comes with autopilot. Let me back up. My name is Cameron Mitchell. I'm 54 years old, retired Navy SEAL after 24 years of service. When my uncle died and left me his waterfront property in the Florida Keys, I thought I'd found paradise, a small house on 3 acres with private dock access, mangroves for privacy, and ocean views that made you forget the world existed. For exactly 5 days, I had peace. Then came Vanessa Sterling. She arrived on a Tuesday morning in a white BMW SUV, door slamming like a gavel. I was replacing dock boards when I heard heels clicking on my gravel drive, sharp, deliberate, the sound of someone who expects obstacles to move. "Good morning." Her voice had that synthetic brightness that instantly sets off alarms. "I'm Vanessa Sterling, president of Coral Bay Estates HOA. I looked up. Late 40s, perfectly styled auburn hair, oversized sunglasses, and a crimson blazer over black silk that probably cost more than my monthly pension. In her hands, the dreaded clipboard. "Cameron Mitchell," I said, not standing. "New neighbor, welcome to the community." She stepped onto my dock without asking. "I'm here to discuss waterfront protocols." "Protocols?" "Yes." She flipped through laminated pages. "This dock has historically been used for community events, sunset parties, boat launches, wedding ceremonies. We'll need you on the rotation schedule." I set down my hammer carefully. "Ma'am, this is private property. Technically," she said, like the word was negotiable. "But Coral Bay considers all waterfront access honorary community space. It's tradition." "Honorary space," I repeated, "like honorary doctorates?" "Sounds fake." Her smile tightened. "Mr. Mitchell, we're very welcoming here, but we do expect cooperation, and I expect people to stay off my dock without permission." She wrote something on her clipboard, probably hostile or non-compliant. "I'll send you the community guidelines," she said, heels clicking back toward her SUV. "We have a wedding here next month, Cindy Patterson's daughter, 200 guests. We'll need full dock access and parking." "Not happening." She paused, sunglasses reflecting my face like twin mirrors. "We'll see about that." And she was right, because the next morning I found beer cans in my mangroves, cigarette butts on my dock, and tire tracks through my lawn where someone had driven an ATV during the night. When I checked my security cameras, yes, I'd installed 4 within 24 hours of meeting Vanessa. I saw exactly what I expected. A group of 20-somethings partying on my dock, posting Instagram stories with my boat in the background, one idiot even trying to start Phantom's engine. I saved every frame. That afternoon, I installed gates. 2 of them, one at the road, one at the dock entrance. Steel, padlocked, with signs that would make a lawyer weep with joy. Private property, no trespassing, violators will be prosecuted. Vanessa returned within an hour. "These gates," she said, voice vibrating with barely contained fury, "are creating access issues." Good. They're working. The community has rights. The community has trespassing charges waiting if anyone touches my property again. I showed her my phone. I have video of 12 people drinking on my dock last night. Want me to send it to the sheriff or handle this privately? Her jaw clenched. You're making enemies, Mr. Mitchell. No, I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. She left without another word. But I knew, absolutely knew this wasn't over. Because people like Vanessa don't accept no. They escalate. Over the next 2 weeks, the harassment intensified. Day 3, HOA notice claiming my dock violated aesthetic standards. Day 5, anonymous complaint to county about unpermitted structures. My gates were 100% legal. Day 8, Vanessa herself, with 3 board members, demanding I attend a compliance meeting. Day 10, someone cut my lock and held another party. I got video, replaced lock with military-grade version. Day 12, HOA letter threatening legal action for blocking community access. I documented everything. Timestamps, photos, videos, license plates, and I started planning. See, during my SEAL years, I'd learned something important. The best defense isn't aggression, it's letting your enemy defeat themselves. Vanessa wanted my dock? I'd give her exactly what she wanted, on my terms. Phantom wasn't just a boat, she was a custom-built 24-foot fishing vessel I'd engineered during my last deployment. Electric motor, silent running, GPS-linked navigation, and one very special feature I'd added after meeting Vanessa: autonomous theft deterrent mode. When activated, the boat would 1. Allow unauthorized start, no alarm. 2. Lock all manual controls after 30 seconds. 3. Engage autopilot in preset pattern figure 8, radius 0.5 nautical miles. 4. Broadcast GPS location and live video to my phone. 5. Run until battery depleted or remote override. It wasn't a weapon, it was a demonstration, and I was about to give Vanessa the lesson of her life. On Friday morning, I did something I'd never done before. I left my gate unlocked. Not wide open, just unlatched. An invitation disguised as carelessness. Then I drove to the marina 3 miles away, parked where I had a clear view of the bay, and opened my phone. 4 cameras, live feed, motion sensors armed. At 10:47 a.m., Vanessa's white BMW pulled into my driveway. She looked around, no one visible. My truck was gone. The house looked empty. She approached the dock, glanced over her shoulder, then stepped through the gate I'd deliberately left open. On camera, I watched her circle Phantom, running her hand along the hull like she was appraising stolen goods. Then she did exactly what I knew she would. She climbed aboard. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. Unauthorized boarding. I watched her sit in the captain's seat, try the throttle, check the fuel gauge. Electric. Idiot. And then, beautiful, perfect, predictable, she pressed the ignition. Phantom purred to life. Vanessa's face lit up with triumph. She was going to take my boat for a joyride, probably to demonstrate community access or some other HOA bullshit. The boat drifted from the dock, smooth and easy. She smiled, and that's when the trap closed. At exactly 30 seconds, the controls locked. Throttle frozen, wheel immobile, dashboard flashing red, autopilot engaged, theft deterrent active. Vanessa's smile vanished. What? No, 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 stop! Phantom banked left, entering the figure 8 pattern. Slow, steady, unstoppable. I couldn't hear her from 3 miles away, but I didn't need to. The video showed everything. Her yanking the wheel, hammering the kill switch, screaming at the dashboard like it would apologize. The boat just kept gliding. Turn, straighten, turn again. Perfect. I called the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. This is Cameron Mitchell, 447 Coral Drive. I have video evidence of someone stealing my boat. She's currently trapped in autopilot about half a mile offshore, coordinates attached. No immediate danger, but she'll need water rescue. The dispatchers sounded confused. Trapped in autopilot? It's a theft deterrent system. Coast Guard approved. She's safe, just embarrassed. Sir, is this a prank? I sent the live video feed. Does that look like a prank? 20 minutes later, 3 things arrived simultaneously. 1. Sheriff's Marine Unit. 2. Vanessa's husband in a speedboat 3. Local news helicopter, someone had been monitoring police scanners. And me? I drove back to my dock, coffee in hand, ready to watch the show. By the time I arrived, Phantom had completed her 18th lap. Vanessa sat slumped in the seat, one hand gripping the rail, the other holding her phone like a lifeline. The Marine unit pulled alongside. Deputy Torres, I'd met him at the marina, called out through a loudspeaker. Ma'am, are you injured? Get me off this thing. Ma'am, we need to confirm. Did you have permission to operate this vessel? Long pause. Then quietly, no. Then you're under arrest for theft and trespassing. Please remain seated until we can safely board. The look on her face, shock, rage, humiliation, was worth every second of planning. They towed Phantom back to my dock with Vanessa still aboard, hands now zip-tied behind her back. The news helicopter circled overhead, cameras rolling. As deputies escorted her onto land, she locked eyes with me. You planned this, she hissed. No, I said calmly. I protected my property. You chose to steal. I'll sue you for everything. With what evidence? I held up my phone, showing time-stamped video. I have you trespassing, breaking into my boat, and attempting theft. You have, what? Anger? Deputy Torres cleared his throat. Mr. Mitchell, we'll need a statement. Of course. I also have 2 weeks of harassment documentation from Mrs. Sterling's HOA. Would you like that too? Vanessa's face went pale. As they led her to the patrol boat, the news helicopter got its money shot. Coral Bay HOA president arrested for boat theft. By sunset, the video was everywhere. Number HOA Karen. Number boat theft. Number Florida man. But make it justice. That evening, sitting on my dock with Phantom safely moored, I got a text from an unknown number. The board has removed Vanessa Sterling as president, effective immediately. Please accept our apologies. Coral Bay Estates Board, I replied. Apology accepted. Keep your people off my property. 3 days later, a for sale sign appeared in Vanessa's yard. 1 week after that, she was gone, and the bay was quiet again. Just me, my boat, and the water. Exactly how I planned it. But here's what I didn't plan. The guilt. Because 2 weeks after Vanessa's arrest, I started wondering if I'd gone too far. Sure, she'd trespassed. Sure, she'd tried to steal my boat. Sure, she'd harassed me for weeks. But I'd engineered her humiliation on purpose. With cameras, autopilot, and perfect timing. Was I defending my property? Or had I become the kind of person who sets traps for people? I sat on my dock one night, beer in hand, asking myself, when did I stop being the guy who wanted peace and become the guy who weaponizes it? That question haunted me more than any legal charge ever could. And the answer would force me to confront something I'd been avoiding since leaving the SEALs. Maybe I missed the war. And maybe Florida was just a new battlefield where I could still feel like I was winning something. But at what cost? The guilt hit me during the strangest moment. Feeding a pelican. His name unofficial, but I called him Steve, was this beat-up old bird who'd hang around the dock every morning waiting for scraps. One wing had a chunk missing, probably a boat propeller years ago. But he still showed up, still fished, still survived. I'd been tossing him mullet guts when it struck me. Steve didn't win by fighting. He won by adapting. By taking what the water gave him without making enemies. Meanwhile, I just humiliated a woman on live television because she wouldn't leave my dock alone. Yeah, she deserved it legally, but morally, that line was blurrier than I wanted to admit. But before the guilt could fully sink in, Vanessa's allies struck back. The morning after her arrest, I woke to find my truck's tires slashed. All 4. Clean cuts, professional looking, the kind that screamed, "Message delivered." The note under my windshield wiper was even clearer. You hurt our community." We heard back. No signature. Didn't need one. I called Deputy Torres. He came out, took photos, filed a report. "Mr. Mitchell, I'll be straight with you. This is retaliation, and it won't be the last. You think Vanessa's behind it? She's in jail awaiting arraignment, but her people?" He gestured at the nice houses lining Coral Bay. "They're circling wagons. To them, you're the villain. I caught her stealing my boat, and you humiliated her on live TV. To a certain kind of person, that's worse than theft." He wasn't wrong. That afternoon, a group of 20 protesters showed up at my gate. Not angry shouters, worse. They were the polite, organized kind. Matching t-shirts that said, "Coral Bay Strong." Professionally printed signs. "Community over cruelty, and Vanessa deserves justice." One woman, I recognized her from Vanessa's entourage, Carol something, shouted through a bullhorn. Cameron Mitchell weaponized technology against a community leader. He's dangerous. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, as they filmed themselves for social media. Hashtags were already trending. Number Free Vanessa, number Florida Bully, number Tech Trap. The irony of calling ME a bully while they protested on my property wasn't lost on me, but it was working. By evening, my phone was flooded with messages. "You should be ashamed. Typical military psycho. Hope you rot in hell, old man." A few supportive ones, too. "She stole your boat. Don't back down. These AOA Karens need to learn." But the negative ones hurt more. Maybe because part of me agreed with them. That night, I called Father Marcus again. "They're saying I'm the bad guy," I said. "Are you?" "I defended my property. By engineering a public spectacle." I was quiet. Because he was right. "Cameron, let me ask you something. When you designed that trap, what did you imagine happening?" "I thought she'd try to steal the boat, get caught, learn a lesson." "And did you imagine helicopters, news cameras, her face on every screen in Florida?" "No." "Then maybe you underestimated how cruel efficiency can be. That hit like a gut punch. So what do I do now?" "The same thing you tell a SEAL who used excessive force. Own it, learn from it, do better." After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking about Iraq, about Afghanistan, about the missions where I'd been so focused on completing objectives that I forgot the humans on the other side. This wasn't war. This was Florida, and I'd treated Vanessa like an enemy combatant instead of a neighbor having a breakdown. The next morning, things got worse. I found a brick through my living room window. The attached note, "Leave Coral Bay, or we make you leave." Deputy Torres came out again, looking tired. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm recommending you press charges against Mrs. Sterling and file restraining orders against anyone making threats. Will that help? Legally? Yes. Practically?" He sighed. "You're in a community war now. Half these people think you're a hero. The other half want you gone. And wars don't end with paperwork. What would you do?" He thought about it. "I'd make peace before someone gets hurt." That afternoon, I did something that surprised everyone, including myself. I went to Vanessa's arraignment. The courthouse was small, humid, smelling of old carpet and bureaucracy. Vanessa sat in an orange jumpsuit, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked 10 years older than the woman who'd stolen my boat. When the judge read the charges, theft, trespassing, resisting, arrest her lawyer, public defender, overworked, underpaid, tried to argue diminished capacity. "Your Honor, my client was experiencing extreme stress related to community responsibilities. Stress doesn't excuse theft," the judge interrupted. Bail set at $5,000. Next case. As they led Vanessa away, our eyes met. She mouthed something. I couldn't tell if it was, "I'm sorry," or, "I hate you." Maybe both. Outside, reporters swarmed me. "Mr. Mitchell, do you feel vindicated? Do you plan to sue? Was the boat trap premeditated?" I held up a hand. "I have one statement. What Mrs. Sterling did was wrong. What I did was legal. But legal doesn't always mean right. I'm not celebrating this. I just wanted to be left alone." "So you regret it?" I paused. I regret that it came to this. I wish we'd both handled things differently. That quote, carefully neutral, vaguely apologetic made headlines. Boat trap owner. I regret this. Vanessa's supporters spun it as admission of guilt. My supporters called me weak. Nobody was happy, except maybe Father Marcus, who texted, "Good start, now go further." 3 days later, Vanessa's husband Tony showed up at my door. He was mid-50s, tired looking, wearing a rumpled suit like he'd slept in it. "Mr. Mitchell, I'm Tony Sterling. Can we talk?" I let him in, offered coffee. He accepted, hand shaking slightly as he gripped the mug. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I'm here to apologize for my wife, for the protesters, for..." He gestured vaguely at everything. "All of it." "You don't need to apologize for her." "Yeah, I do, because I enabled her." He looked at me directly. "You want to know why Vanessa became like this? I can tell you." And he did. Tony explained how Vanessa's father, a domineering man named Bill Chen, had controlled every aspect of their family's life. What they ate, where they lived, who they talked to. When Bill got sick, Vanessa spent 3 years caring for him, watching him deteriorate, unable to save him. After he died, Tony said she swore she'd never be helpless again, never let chaos win, so she started controlling everything. Our finances, our house, the HOA, and I let her because it was easier than confronting her. What changed? The boat thing. Seeing her arrested on TV. Realizing she'd rather steal a boat than admit she couldn't control you, he shook his head. "I filed for divorce this morning." "Jesus, Tony, don't. It's been coming for 5 years. I just didn't have the guts until now." He stood. "I came here to tell you, you didn't ruin her. She was already ruined. You just held up a mirror." After he left, I sat on my porch for an hour, watching pelicans dive for fish. Vanessa wasn't just an HOA Karen. She was someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone drowning in grief and trauma who'd grabbed the nearest life raft control and clung to it until it destroyed her. And I'd been so focused on defending my property that I never asked why she was fighting so hard. That's when I made my decision. The next morning, I drove to the county jail. Visiting hours were 2 to 4 p.m. I sat in the waiting room with families of inmates, feeling completely out of place in my faded navy t-shirt among people in Sunday clothes. When they called my name, I almost left, but I forced myself to walk to the visitation booth. Vanessa sat on the other side of the plexiglass, phone receiver in hand, eyes wide with shock. "What are you doing here?" Her voice crackled through the speaker. "I came to apologize." "For what? Winning?" Bitterness dripped from every word. "For humiliating you. You broke the law. You deserved consequences. But you didn't deserve to have your worst moment broadcast to millions." She laughed short, bitter. "You think an apology fixes this?" "I lost everything. My house, my marriage, my reputation, all because you wanted to teach me a lesson." "No," I said carefully. "You lost everything because you were already losing it. I just accelerated the crash." Her face crumpled. For a moment, I thought she'd hang up. Instead, she whispered, "Why? Why did you do it?" "Because I was angry. Because I spent 24 years in the SEALs learning how to neutralize threats efficiently. And when you wouldn't leave me alone, I treated you like an enemy combatant instead of a neighbor. I was your enemy. You were someone having a breakdown. There's a difference." She was quiet for a long time. Then Tony came to see me yesterday, served me divorce papers through the jail. "I know," he told me. "Did he tell you why I did it? Why I tried to take your boat?" "He told me about your father." Tears now, streaming down her face. "After Dad died, I couldn't save anything, couldn't control anything. Mom got dementia. Tony started drinking. The HOA was the only place I still mattered. And when you showed up with your gates and your cameras and your private property, it felt like you were taking the last thing I had. Vanessa, you didn't have the HOA. You were hiding behind it." "I know that now." She wiped her eyes. But I didn't know it then. I just knew I was drowning and you were building walls. I took a breath. I'm going to do something, and you're going to think it's pity. It's not. It's responsibility. What? I'm paying your bail and your legal fees, and I'm writing a letter to the DA recommending reduced charges. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. You broke the law. I continued. You need consequences, but you don't need to lose everything because I wanted to prove a point. Why would you do this? Because a priest reminded me I'm supposed to be better than my worst instincts. And because Tony told me things I should have asked before setting a trap. I don't want your charity. Good, because this isn't charity. This is me taking responsibility for engineering your public destruction. What you do with it is up to you. I hung up before she could respond. 3 days later, Vanessa was released on bail. I'd posted anonymously through a lawyer. The charges were reduced to misdemeanor trespassing. She paid a fine, agreed to community service, and entered mandatory therapy. The protesters outside my house disappeared overnight. The hate messages slowed to a trickle, and slowly, very slowly, the war ended. Not because anyone won, but because we both chose to stop fighting. 6 months later, I got a letter from Vanessa. Not angry, not bitter, just honest. Cameron, I'm teaching sailing now. Volunteer work with kids at the community center. Turns out I'm good at it when I'm not trying to control everything. Tony and I are divorced, but we're talking again. Civil, at least. I'm in therapy twice a week, learning about grief and control and all the ways I hurt people trying to protect myself. You were right, I was drowning. Thank you for pulling me out, even though I fought you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just wanted you to know I'm trying. Vanessa, I wrote back. Vanessa, I'm glad you're teaching. Water has a way of teaching us what we need to learn. I'm sorry for how things went. Both of us made choices we regret, but we also made choices to heal. That counts for something. Keep swimming, Cameron. 2 years later, I got an invitation. Grand opening. Sterling Sailing Academy. Teaching kids confidence, boundaries, and respect for the water. June 15th, 2026. Hope to see you there. Vanessa, I went. The academy was on the bay, small but professional. 10 kids in life jackets learning to tie bowlines while Vanessa coached them patiently. She was wearing cargo shorts and a faded sailing shirt. No clipboard, no crimson blazer. Just a woman teaching the things she'd forgotten. Respect isn't taken, it's earned. When she saw me, she waved. We didn't talk much. Just a nod, a thanks for coming, and the understanding that some stories don't need tidy endings, just honest ones. As I drove home, windows down, salt air pouring in, I thought about Father Marcus's words. Maybe you're still looking for enemies because it's easier than accepting peace. He was right, but I'm learning. One sunrise at a time, one boundary respected. One moment choosing quiet over conflict. The bay is quiet now. Steve, the pelican, still shows up every morning. Phantom sits at the dock. Autopilot disabled. I kept the security features but removed the trap. And me? I fish, I read, I watch sunsets without waiting for the next clipboard to arrive. Occasionally, someone from the new HOA, led by Margaret Chen, who actually reads bylaws, stops by to ask if they can launch kayaks during cleanup day. I usually say yes, because defending boundaries doesn't mean building walls. It means teaching people where the line is, and trusting that most of them, not all, but most will respect it. Vanessa Sterling taught me that. Even if she didn't mean to, even if I had to trap her on a boat to learn it, some lessons require spectacle, but the real growth happens quietly, in apology letters and therapy sessions, and moments when you choose empathy over victory. I don't regret defending my property, but I'm glad I learned to defend it without losing myself. Because peace isn't about winning, it's about knowing when to stop fighting, even when you're absolutely, legally, perfectly right. 2 years after the Sailing Academy opened, Vanessa did something unexpected. She called me. Cameron? It's Vanessa. I have a weird question. Shoot. One of my students, one 2-year-old kid named Marcus, his parents are in an HOA fight. The board is trying to take their boat slip for community use. Sound familiar? I laughed. Very. They asked if I knew a lawyer. I gave them Margaret Chen's number. But I also thought, she paused, would you be willing to talk to them? Tell them how you handled it? You want me to teach them the trap method? God, no. I want you to teach them the aftermath, the part where we both learn to be human. That conversation led to me becoming an informal consultant for homeowners fighting HOA overreach, not teaching traps, teaching documentation, boundaries, and when to fight versus when to negotiate. It turns out 24 years as a SEAL doesn't just teach you combat tactics, it teaches you strategy, patience, and when you're lucky, when to stand down. 3 years later, Vanessa and I co-wrote an op-ed for the Miami Herald, What a Boat Trap Taught Us About Community. It went viral. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was honest. Two people who'd fought a stupid war admitting they were both wrong, both hurt, and both better for having survived it. The hate mail still comes occasionally. So do the thank you letters. I answer both the same way. We're all just trying to defend something. The trick is remembering what's worth defending. For me, it's the quiet. For Vanessa, it's helping kids find confidence on the water. For Tony, who remarried and now volunteers at the Sailing Academy, it's second chances. And for Father Marcus, who I visit every Christmas, it's watching broken people choose healing. You did good, Cameron. He told me last year. I trapped a woman on a boat, and then you helped her build a new life. That's redemption, son. Maybe he's right. Maybe the best victories aren't the ones where you destroy your enemy. They're the ones where you both survive and build something better. I still live on the bay. Still feed Steve every morning. He's brought friends now. There's a whole Pelican committee demanding breakfast. Phantom still sits at the dock, motor silent, GPS tracking disabled except for theft alerts. And every June 15th, I visit Sterling Sailing Academy to watch kids learn the thing Vanessa and I had to learn the hard way. Respect isn't about control, it's about boundaries. And sometimes, the people who cross yours are just drowning people who forgot how to ask for help. The trick is pulling them out without drowning yourself. That's harder than any SEAL mission I ever ran. But it's the one I'm proudest of, because it's the one where everybody lived. Final reflection. Sometimes I still think about that morning watching Vanessa spiral in figure 8 seconds while I sipped coffee and waited for karma to complete its route. It felt like justice then. Now it feels like the moment before everything changed. Not because the trap was wrong, but because it forced both of us to see what we'd become. Her, a control addict, drowning in grief. Me, a warrior with no war left to fight. We could have destroyed each other. Instead, we both chose repair. That's not the story I thought I'd tell when I moved to the Keys. I thought I'd tell a story about defending property, teaching lessons, winning battles. But the real story is simpler and harder. Two broken people learned to be neighbors. And that mattered more than any victory ever could. This is Cameron Mitchell, signing off from Coral Bay. Where the water's clear, the boundaries are clearer, and sometimes the people who steal your boat end up teaching your kids to sail. Life's funny that way. The end?